Hi Gemini, welcome to my channel, Constellations Earth. I am your master cosmologist and the head cheerleader to the stars. I'm here to do a message for all of you Geminis, all you brainiacs, about relationships for April, but kind of here on out, moving forward, going ahead. Just feel like I need a little sage actually, because I just did Taurus and I feel like I'm a little too connected to them. So that's a message for you guys to make sure that when you're done relating and connecting, you break the tie. Consciously check out, consciously cut off the connection, or else your brain's going to keep running. So the gist of what I'm doing here is I'm doing relationship messages because the Earth is in Libra and the Sun is in Aries. But we just went through a year and a half of the South Node in Libra, which was really reconfiguring all relationships. We had a little bit of a breather to kind of see what we need to do, assess, lay some groundwork, but now we're really doing the marching through that energy and doing the work to really reassess relating to all things, to your car, to your finances, to your husband, to your cousin, to grandma, anything that you could possibly have a relationship, which is everything, anything, is up for renegotiation and you need to reassess. So that's what we're talking about today. It may be love, it may not. Take how it resonates in love for you and apply it. But I'm finding that these messages are a lot more generalized. So let's go into it. The thing that I'm going to mention astrologically for you is that on April 1st, very interesting timing, on April 1st, Jupiter is going to touch 𝗲𝗫𝗀𝗀. It's going to align with the fixed star 𝗲𝗫𝗀𝗀. 𝗲𝗫𝗀𝗀 to me is where, how do I want to put this? It's pretty varied. It's where you would get cloning type of energy or acoustic warfare or using sound to enact an agenda, or propaganda is a very good word for it. It is something to be aware of because you don't want to just mimic and follow the crowd or be brainwashed. Brainwashing is going to be something to be really mindful of, and not just listening to the crowd and running with that information. There's a necessity collectively for everyone to be extra discerning about media and stuff that's put out over the news. But specifically for you guys are going to help us discern the data that is beneficial for us as a collective and also what is detrimental. So there's that. I have the Oracle deck in my hands, so it obviously wants to be pulled from first. I'm using Dreamweaver's Oracle and the Tarot of Curious Creatures for you. And let's see what comes up. What comes up, what comes out. Comes up. What comes up, what comes out keeps repeating in my head. It feels like you're going to have things pop up that you know you need to get out of your life. Time to feed the hungry heart is what you have. It's a funny little card. And he's got mixer blender feet. I feel like the mixer blender feet are the most significant part of this card. It almost has like a left and right hemisphere of the brain Gemini thing going on here. Pull a card about why that's here. These are weird oracle cards. The Hermit. Let me get one more because this is feeling very hemisphere oriented, left, right brain. King of Wands. All right, so let's first look into what this hungry heart is. Time out, self-care, a need to regroup and replenish, nourishment, which I feel like if you're watching these videos, you're probably kind of sick of hearing that. But for you, it does feel like you can be very topical or very in your head, of course, and very logical and almost neglect your heart and blending in with these blender feet. I feel like you need to make sure that you're blending in things that your heart knows is best as much as your head knows is best. I'm getting a need for soul food as much as data feeding, constantly feeding data. You need just as much soul food as you need intellectual stimuli and feeding. So that's a caution, especially with Rigel, because that would be an overload of data input, data streaming, downloading, constantly feeding the brain and it never having a rest. Your brains are your key feature. It's what you're known for. But if you don't ever give it a rest, you're not going to be relating to yourself very well, and then you will not be relating to anyone else in your highest form. That's the recipe for relating to everything and anything. If you're neglecting soul food, heart nourishment, listening to your heart, having downtime, you're going to be a jerk to everybody else. You're going to be like a sharky, but you want to be like this shark. You want to be like a huggy shark, a nice shark. Fish are friends, not food. Let's see. This is talking about working really hard, moving really fast, juggling lots of tasks, putting others first, and then not slowing down and remembering to care for yourself or put yourself first. You're being asked, you're the twins. It's you and somebody else. Don't look out for the somebody else before you look out for the somebody, is the core of your message that I'm getting. You need some hermit time and self-care and checking out so that you can alchemize and be a star around other people. And that's when you can bring this King of Wands energy where you're lit and you're on fire with your brain, your ideas, your creativity, your magic, your outgoingness. It's all going to be so much more like the ingenuity, the creativity, the sheer creative juices. Like your brain is a very high energy, it's a very consumptive organ. It uses a lot of the body's energy. So your brain can't be this artistic, creative, zinger, hot fire energy if it's in the blender constantly by multitasking and talking too much and being on the internet and doing all these Gemini things, you have to take this time out. And then and only then are you going to be a good friend, a good twin flame, a good any sort of relationship. That's the quintessence of what I'm getting here. You don't have to force yourself through exhaustion to prove anything, to show up for anybody else. You have to prioritize this. It's really cautioning you to slow down and not be overly busy. Or the one who handles it all, but I'm getting it more in a handling, like putting your hands all over it and getting in there when you actually don't need to be tinkering and getting in there in the first place. A hands-off approach a lot of times, and stepping aside and being like, I'm going to be over here with my creative ideas and you guys can be over there. I don't need to step in. I don't need to be the negotiator. I don't need to be the go-between. I don't need to make sure everybody's friends. Like, that's sometimes not my business. Did you know that the world will continue to spin if you take some time to care for yourself? It's a novel concept. It's a novel concept. I'm also getting it would be really good to do self brainy things a little bit more like a retronym energy of just sitting down with a book. Instead of being on the internet 24/7 and tapping these little buttons and overstimulating and hyper arousing your dopamine, it would be really good to get that information from a book from time to time. Dopamine hits is going to, it's like a drug addict, and it's not in a good way. This dopamine hit that I'm getting here for you is you actually really need to decompress and be outside or reading a book or sitting doing nothing, meditating so that you can replenish and have healthy amounts of dopamine. If you are constantly hearing the ding and having the dopamine release, you're going to have issues with depression, issues with anxiety, issues with mood disorders. You're going to just have this very imbalanced hormonal system and brain response system. So I really need you guys to think about dopamine and what is causing unnatural surges and releases of that, because it's not natural and it's not normal. And you, more than anyone else, really need to mind that. It's actually a really potent message. With especially when Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini goes to Rigel. That's going to be almost like an agenda to hyper arouse people with dopamine hits. Four of Pentacles. Show you. The way I'm reading it is keeping things to yourself sometimes. Yes, you are so wise. Yes, you are so smart. Yes, you have brilliant ideas, but sometimes you need to keep them in the house and keep them close to your heart. And maybe that's a self-protection thing where you don't get insulted or you don't get your idea shot down before it even has time to become more than just an idea. But it feels like with the Hermit and the Four of Pentacles, some things you want to keep a little closer to your chest and not always talk about them or put it out there for the world to trample on. Like, it's not quite casting pearls before swine, even though that's, I'm getting that a lot here this week with this card. But I get a sense of more privacy, needing a little bit more privacy. And having things that are just because that privacy, what it'll do is it'll create a specialness. I know you want to share it with the other. I know you want to tell somebody, but sometimes having things that are just ours is super special too. And that's a new relationship for you sometimes. Just trying to see if that feels complete. You guys are going to be like Taurus and ask for a love card. I'm feeling it. Okay. Gemini in specifically love. Hi, Mama. Hi. Oh, she made a special appearance for you guys. Say hi. Oh, that's little bug. What wants to come out for love? Gemini in. I'm hearing don't tell everyone your business. The moon. Okay. I heard it and then we got the moon. Privacy. And it came through with that other card. Privacy is actually going to be a superpower for you. It's your hidden superpower. Instead of howling all the time, some things are better off kept in private. And it's not secrecy that's detrimental. It's secrecy and privacy that's actually super beneficial to not cause drama, to not start anything that should be resolved within. Because if you can internalize it and keep it close, you're going to have better relationships because then you wouldn't have shot yourself in the foot or put your foot in your mouth. You'll be able to be, this is a very patient and conservative energy where it's doing a lot of assessment instead of just howling it out there. Yeah, don't howl it out there. It's something that I've learned in the past year with relationships too, I think is why I'm bringing it up. And it's been so valuable. Sometimes we want to be heard as the victim, or we want someone to relate to us or to sympathize with what we're going through. And actually, what that does is create a negative perception of your relationship, and it taints the relationships that you're in, sometimes to the point of not being able to take back what was said. It's not fair that when you and your person are having issues to go running off and telling your best friend. And I know sometimes you want to vent and sometimes you want to get attention or feel understood. But the higher octave way to process this is truly keeping the relationship in the house, keeping it close to your heart, keeping it between you two. Third party energy, boom, Gemini. Third party energy will tank your relationship faster than any other relationship, any other sign, I should say. You guys are the quintessence, the way showers of a relationship is 1 + 1, not 1 + 1 + 1, unless you're weird and into that kind of thing, which do you, boo? But Gemini is the twins, it's the divine relationship, it's the divine union, and there's nobody else standing in the middle of the twins. So take it into consideration. Am I inserting third-party situationships and potentially sabotaging my relationship with someone I really treasure by being petty or acting like a victim or not being mature enough to internalize this or go to that person? Just you and them, not your sister, not your mama, not your cousin, not your bestie. Sometimes privacy, well, I'm learning a lot of times privacy is much better because you can really taint your relationship really quickly. And then if you've told everyone what a jerk your boyfriend is, well, what do you look like when you're parading him around town? You look like a jerk. Like, she just told me that he's a jerk and treats her like doo-doo, and she's still with him. It makes you look like you're not treasuring and valuing yourself. These things come up for all of us. Deal with it with you in private first, and then meet in conversation with the other person. And then if you can't resolve it, maybe seek a therapist or a professional or even a reader, because readers give great insight. But maybe don't tell all your closest friends and your family because, like I said, people remember what you say about your person, and that carries over. I don't feel like it's healthy, and it's very toxic. So that's your message for relating in the months ahead and maybe the rest of your life. I hope it was beneficial. And Little Bug and I say best wishes. Bye.